My name is Josh Linkner. I know a thing or two about innovation. On behalf of Chase for Business, we're going to learn something fun called What If. The What If exercise is a fun and very powerful way to bring your best ideas to the surface. What If is basically a brainstorm in which you just constantly ask a series of questions. When you start a question with what if, you're absolving yourself of any personal responsibility. You're simply letting your imagination run free. What if, what if, what if? So for example, what if Pong? You're sitting in a group of 5 or 6 people. You just start tossing the ball to people. So if you're trying to solve a problem, let's say you're trying to sell more cars in your car dealership. So you toss the ball to someone and they have to start by saying, well, what if we held a sale every Thursday night? Toss to someone else. Well, what if we started offering free washes if you bring your car in and take a test drive? Toss to someone else. So what happens is nobody has time to overanalyze their ideas. No one's worried about the outcome. You just have to spit out a what if idea. We're all facing challenges in our small businesses, some bigger than others. How are you going to execute? How are you going to fund it? What if is a powerful way to break through that. Just constantly asking about the possibilities. What if we tried this? What if this? What if that? So that constant pursuit of what if can lead to terrific results and ultimately help you reimagine and reinvent your small business. Hi everyone, Josh Linkner here, entrepreneur, author, venture capitalist, Detroiter, and most importantly right now, answering your questions on how to take your business to the next level on behalf of Chase. I hope that you can join the conversation in this Periscope event. Make sure that you use the hashtag #InnovateForBiz. And we're really here today to answer your questions and to help you in any possible way to grow, to win, to soar. So I'm going to start out by taking some live questions, and again, delighted to hear more from you. So we'll start out first with Lawrence E. on Twitter. The question is this: I own a landscaping business in Deerfield, Illinois, and I'm looking to do some marketing, but I'm getting expensive quotes for the work. Any ideas? Well, Lawrence, thanks first of all for tweeting in, and we're excited to share some ideas here. My first suggestion to you is do the opposite. In other words, instead of running a bunch of expensive ads, maybe we can inject some creativity here to take your business to the next level without having to spend a bunch of cash. One thought would be, you've heard of guerrilla marketing. What if you did something really fun with your landscaping business? What if it was almost like a humanitarian effort where you did you've heard of random acts of kindness? What if you did a random acts of landscaping approach where you went out and found really dilapidated areas and you just attacked them in the middle of the night? And all of a sudden you did a before and after picture, posted it online, and it was like this random act of landscaping. This is the kind of thing that could go viral, that people would get excited about. Perhaps people in your local community would dig. Maybe you get some media coverage, and it would show that you're progressive, that you're different than the other landscaping people, that you stand out from this competitive set. So these type of creative ideas may be something that you can explore to get all the exposure you want, to stand out from your competitors, and to do so with very little capital. I always like to say, get scrappy, do more with less, find creative ways instead of throwing a bunch of cash at it, and I hope that would be one for you to give a try. Cool, let's continue on and take a look at our next one from Janice N. Janice says, my sales have not increased since 2014. What should I do? Well, of course, I don't know what business you're in, but I would say this. There's an old saying that if you keep doing something the same way, you'll keep getting the same results. Actually, I think that saying is flawed. Unfortunately, it's even worse. In other words, if you keep doing things the same way, but the world is moving on, you're likely to see declining results, not just the same results. So my suggestion to you is we got to shake it up somehow. If all we do is keep running the same playbook that we've done for months or years or decades, it's unlikely that we'll enjoy the same success. Instead, my suggestion would be to really zoom out and say, all right, how am I currently serving my customers? What needs do they have? What trends are happening around in technology, in customer shifts, in competitive approaches? And really take a brand new, fresh approach, almost like this. What if I said to you, unfortunately, Janice, your business is gone, out of business. The good news is that you get to start a brand new business. Well, if you were starting with a fresh approach, a blank slate, what would you do differently? Maybe you would approach your selling in a different manner. Maybe you'd hire different types of people. Maybe your product or service offering would look a little bit different. So my suggestion is, rather than waiting for tragedy to strike, you're already seeing some warning signs that your business has been flat. Now is the time to make sure that you are that source of disruption, taking a brand new, fresh, creative look at the situation in the context of today's external circumstances. You may be able to find a new path forward to take your sales not just up a little bit, but up in a significant way. So thank you, Janice. Let's continue on. Tess V. Tess says, what's your best tool or technique to increase individual productivity? I've actually been a student of productivity for quite some time. And I don't know if this is one, but I'll share a couple quick hitters with you. First of all, we all are busy multitasking. We know about this term multitasking. Turns out there's really no such thing as multitasking. What we do is quickly job shifting. So you check an email, you look at Facebook, you answer the phone, you write a report. But what you're doing is you're shifting between multiple things, not really doing them all at once. And unfortunately, what we tend to do is rob our best efforts in all of them at once. So one simple suggestion would be to be more present in one thing at a time. Take your most important thing, ideally first thing in the morning, and focus in on it with laser-like intensity and tune out everything else. Really dig into that hard. Don't respond to Facebook. Turn your phone off. Turn your email alerts off. Nail it. Put your best creative efforts forward and then systematically move on to the next thing. It turns out that sequential processing is way more effective than trying to multitask. Second suggestion is this. Most of us have a to-do list. I'm sure you have one as well. But here's a fun one. Try making 3 lists. To-do list, do more list, do less list, and stop doing list. So I'll repeat those. Sorry about that. So do more, do less, and stop. In other words, if you really zoomed out and said, how can I be the most productive? How can I bring out my absolute best creative self to make the biggest impact in my career, in my organization, even in my community? Make one list that's what I should do more of. Maybe it's read more. Maybe it's be present more. Maybe it's interact more or network more. Put yourself out there more. So list the things that you can do more of that will bring your game and your impact to the next level. Next, make a list of the things you should do less of. Maybe it's checking social media too often. Maybe it's watching trash TV too much. And these are things that in and of themselves aren't terrible necessarily in small doses. But perhaps if you limited your attention there, you could direct that same attention back to your do more of list. And finally, your stop doing list. These are the things that rob you of your energy, of your ability to make a difference, of your ability to serve, and your ability to lead. Maybe these are things like smoking cigarettes, or maybe it's something eating junk food, or whatever those things may be, gossiping, for example. And these are easy vices to fall into. I'm not being critical or judgmental. But if you make this one list, do more, next list, do less, next list, stop doing. Put it up somewhere visible. This can become your North Star for productivity. You can quickly refer to these lists, and as you catch yourself in the daily grind, bouncing from one thing to the next, it will help guide your behavior to foster the most productivity. Thanks, Tess. Let's continue on. We're having some fun here. And by the way, please tweet your questions live. I'd love to hear what's on your mind. Don't forget to use the hashtag #InnovateForBiz on behalf of Chase. This next one is from Joan C. How has music helped your thinking? So for those that I haven't met, I have a background as a jazz guitarist. I studied music in college. I've been playing now for 30-some years. And music is just a passion of mine. And as a classically trained musician, I've learned that actually was my best MBA. There's been incredible transfer of skills from playing music, specifically jazz, to the business world and starting companies. So jazz, first of all, is an improvisational art form. There's only 1% of the notes are on the written page. The rest you have to make up as you go. It's like real-time innovation. And what I learned from that is that sometimes life doesn't give you a set of music right in front of you that you can get to play at your leisure. It's more that you have to play those notes and make stuff up as you go. You have to improvise in our daily professional lives. So learning those skills from jazz was very beneficial in the business world. The other thing in jazz, you can tell quickly a mature jazz musician from an immature one in the following way. If there's a little space, a little break in the action, it's an immature group, everybody jumps in. It's like, how many notes can I play? So there's a drum fill and a sax fill and a piano fill and a guitar fill and a bass fill, and they all kind of on top of each other. In other words, they're so busy playing more, they're not busy listening. A more mature jazz group would play less. They'd rather have space go by than have them all play on top of each other. So the real art form here is listening. It's being deeply attuned not only to what you're saying or doing, but what those around you are doing. That sense of connectedness to others, of really listening, not just hearing, but really listening to what people are saying, interpreting it in active ways. That can be an even bigger gift than spouting off all the words that you have. I know it's one of those old sayings, but it's deeply true. Finally, I would say that I think the metaphor of leadership has really shifted in the last 10 years or so. Back in the past, maybe that metaphor was that of a classical symphony conductor. The boss, CEO, one person standing in the front of the company, and basically it's all about orchestration. It's about getting everyone to play the notes exactly as they're written on the page. Now, the challenge, and so the skills there are accuracy and precision and alignment and such. The challenge is that the world today is so fast, so complex, so constantly changing that, as I mentioned earlier, there is no such thing as a set of notes that you can just play your way to success. There's no such thing as an operating manual to get you where you want to go. So I think that the metaphor has shifted from playing classical music to playing jazz. Small teams interacting with one another, taking responsible risks, injecting creativity. It's a much more fluid environment where the baton of leadership is passed from one to the other in real time. The other thing about jazz that's kind of cool is that it's all about taking responsible risks. So when I play in a jazz performance, if I play it really safe, I'll get laughed off the stage. But if I play a clunker, a really bad note, just play it twice more and call it art. Everything's fine. Point is that jazz musicians are no more creative than another type or anyone else. It's just that the cultural environment of a jazz combo encourages free thinking, encourages risk-taking, encourages creativity. So for you, running your business, my suggestion is create those jazz combo-like environments where it's safe and fluid and creative, and you'll not only tap into the creativity of your team, you'll elevate your whole organization in the process. Thank you, Joan. All right, our next question is from Matt B. What advice would you give to someone who is starting their first agency that specializes in Facebook ads? Good question. So here's my suggestion, Matt. One likely thing you might do, or if you're starting a business, frankly, in any field, is you study what all the competitors are doing and try to do that. Like if the standard practice is offering certain types of ad units or certain types of design services, yeah, you better do that. My suggestion is do the opposite. Take a look at what everyone else is doing and say, how could you totally stand out? How could you, instead of blend in with the pack, become a category of your own? In other words, I would rather, if I were you, get kicked out of a room than be easily forgotten with some of the competitors. To me, the biggest insult in business is being confused with a competitor. So if the client is deciding between 3 firms and they scratch their head and say, wait, what's Matt's firm again? That to me is a fail. Again, I'd rather them throw you out of the office, but at least they know what you stand for. So my point is, I would use your creativity to figure out how you can do the opposite, how you can balk tradition, how you can figure out what everyone else is doing and do something totally different. One obvious example of this is the Dollar Shave Club. For years and years, probably centuries, razors were sold in retail environments. Well, Dollar Shave Club comes along and gets rid of that whole process. They sell direct off the internet and at a subscription basis and have since created $1 billion of value. They were bought by a large company for $1 billion. They didn't do this by entering the market and saying, well, I'm going to have a slightly different color razor blade. I'm going to offer one little difference in packaging. No, they did it by standing out. And that's my same suggestion for you. Direct all your creativity on how you can stand away from the competitors and how you can best serve your customers in a profoundly different kind of way. Thanks, Matt. Cruising right along. Let's talk and let's hear what Sonia has to say. Sonia K. I'm in real estate. How do I become better at closing deals? Great question. A couple thoughts while we're just riffing here together. One of them is rather than focusing on closing at all, maybe you focus more on serving. And you may be doing this already. I don't mean to be, but in other words, to me, sales is all about problem solving. It's not all about, hey, give me the deal, give me the order. Yeah, you have to ask for it. But if you're really in tune with what your client's needs are, and they know that you're putting their best interest ahead of yours, I believe that the close sort of happens. It's sort of like in boxing. I saw a great quote in boxing that you don't go for the knockout emerges. In other words, you run your game plan and you sort of let the knockout happen. And so instead of focusing on that knockout, it's, in your case, the close, it's more about focusing on the stuff that leads up to it. Are you really delivering the best possible value? Are you going above and beyond with service? Are you totally attuned with your client's needs and offering even more than they ask for? So to me, in that case, the knockout, the close, sort of emerges as you go. The other thing I would say is that, what creative layer can you put on top of it so that you become irresistible? Very often in fields that are perceived to be commodities, like real estate, and I don't say this in a critical way, it's just how many people perceive, for example, realtors. They might say, well, one realtor is kind of the same as the next. So I would ask the question to you, what's one little layer of creativity that you could put on top of what everyone else is doing so that you stand out? Maybe you're the realtor who loves rock music. You're the rock and roll realtor. So every time a customer sees you, you're blaring Metallica and you're wearing heavy metal t-shirts instead of sport coats and khakis. Now, that may be selectively polarizing. Some people might say, I don't want that to be my realtor. But I'll tell you what, the ones that do will love you. And you're a difference maker now. You're doing something totally different than everybody else who's a lookalike in the industry. So for you, I'd say it's got to be authentic, of course, but what makes you different? What's something that you're really passionate about? And could you find a way to creatively stand out, be this one crazy realtor that no one else knows about? That may actually enable you to close more deals. Thanks, Sonia. Let's keep cranking here. This is fun. So Darren S., what do you see as the challenge facing corporate culture in today's workplace? Great question, Darren. As somebody who is in love with creativity, who's deeply committed to driving innovation, the thing that bothers me the most is fear-based organizations. We often think that, unfortunately, many adults think they're not creative, but the truth is that all of us have enormous creative capacity. The challenge is that most of us have been socialized out of it over the years, and we work in stifling bureaucratic environments that say things like, we celebrate innovation, but then when someone shows up with a good idea or a crazy idea, they're sent to timeout. My suggestion is focus on building a culture that celebrates all ideas, that fosters innovation and responsible risk-taking. A couple examples of what I mean from my research. One company that I interviewed issues every year 2 corporate get-out-of-jail-free cards to every team member. Here's what they say. Go out on a limb, try something creative, shake it up, stick your neck out. And if you screw something up, hand us a card, you're off the hook, no questions asked. On an annual review, a leader will be disappointed with a team member if they haven't used both of them. I know what you're thinking, like, gosh, that feels so risky. But let me challenge that if I may. What's the risk of not doing something like that? Mediocrity? Irrelevance? Getting passed by? So many people, so many organizations live their lives trying to play it safe, only to discover that playing it safe has become the riskiest move of all. Another company that I interviewed issues every year a Failure of the Year award. No, seriously, they have a big banquet that celebrate other stuff, the team member of the year, the project of the year, but also the failure of the year. This goes for the team or individual that had a great idea. Their numbers made sense, they went for it, didn't work out at all. But instead of getting fired, they get a standing ovation. People are clapping, cheering, slapping high five. Way to fail. Obviously, I'm not suggesting that you aim at failure, but think about the message that drives deep into the DNA of this company, about the importance of taking responsible risks and bringing your creativity to the surface. So if we want organizations that harness creativity and innovation, that truly leverage that natural resource, we have to create a safe environment that fosters creativity rather than restricts it. Thanks, Darren. Tom M. How do I take my idea for an app and make it into a business with profit? Cool. So Tom, I'm going to unpack that because there's probably a couple things that we got to do here. So first of all, congratulations on having an idea for an app. That's awesome. The first thing I would do is really make sure that you have you're solving a problem in the world that exists. I like to say, is your business an Advil or is it a vitamin? And here's what I mean. Let's say it's 2 a.m. You live in a cold climate, you're freezing. No one wakes up at 2 a.m. and says, I got to go run to the 24-hour drugstore right now to get a vitamin. In other words, a vitamin is a nice to have, not a have to have. On the other hand, if you wake up with a burning headache that you can't sleep, you're going to put on your coat, get in your car, pay whatever it takes to get an Advil so that you can clear your headache. In other words, are you addressing a pain point that really exists in the world that people are dying to get solved, or is it a nice to have? My experience as an investor, as a venture capital investor, is that businesses that are Advils, that you're solving a real pain, are 10 times easier to get off the ground than those that are vitamins, that are nice to haves. So first of all, and maybe you're in between, so see if you can continue to really focus your idea on solving a real pain in the world for somebody. You're going to have an easier time launching it. Second of all, I would recommend perhaps enlisting an army of supporters. In other words, build a prototype if you can, even if it's slapped together. And instead of just trying to get the word out on your own, it's a bigger megaphone if you can get others to help you. So if you can get other early customers on board to fall in love with your app, to get excited about it, to feel like you're really making a difference in their lives, they in turn become supporters and help you spread the word. The hardest part necessarily isn't building the app, it's getting the word out there. So the more that you're solving a real problem and enlisting others to help you spread the word, the more likely you'll be able to be to launch and enjoy a profitable app. So with that in mind, I wish I had more time, but unfortunately everyone's got to get back to their lives. But I just want to thank you on behalf of the great folks at JP Morgan Chase and everyone listening today. Thanks for taking some time to learn about innovation, to double down on growing your business. And ultimately, I think we have an opportunity here, an opportunity to grow our careers, to grow our companies, to grow our communities, and we can do this together. Don't forget to continue to follow things along. Check out chase.com/innovation Innovate with Josh. There's lots of free resources, videos, downloads, a number of things to help you on your creative journey. And don't forget to continue the conversation with the hashtag #InnovateForBiz. On behalf of my friends at Chase again, Josh Linkner here. Thanks again and have an awesome day.